The NFL Draft is just a little bit over a month away. This is one of the best times of year for NFL fans as you have a chance to be excited about your team without any fear of losing. It's great. And today, we're going to begin a series on Kickoff Commentary leading up to the draft, covering the best positional draft classes in NFL history, starting with arguably the most famous of all time, the 1983 quarterback draft class. The 1983 NFL Draft featured a record of 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round. That record still stands to this day. Of these 6, 5 of them were taken by teams in the AFC East. The Patriots, the Jets, the Bills, the Dolphins, and the Baltimore Colts. This was back when divisions in the NFL had 5 teams in it. And it seems best to start looking at these guys from the top. So, with the first pick, the Baltimore Colts select John Elway is the outlier of that AFC East stat, as even though 5 quarterbacks were taken by teams in the AFC East, only 4 teams actually had that quarterback play for them. John Elway infamously had no business wanting to play for the Baltimore Colts and forced a trade to the Denver Broncos. In Denver, John Elway's exploits have become the stuff of legends. Elway was a 9-time Pro Bowler, first-team All-Pro 1 time, 2-time second-team All-Pro, 1-time MVP, 2-time Offensive Player of the Year, 1-time Man of the Year, and 2-time Super Bowl champion. But the narrative of the early part of John Elway's career was not quite as positive as it has become over time. Elway went to 3 Super Bowls in the early parts of his career and proceeded to lose 3 of them very, very badly. By 19 points to the Giants, 32 points to the Redskins, and an NFL record 45 points to the 49ers in a 55-10 massacre. The narrative on Elway's career finally changed in his final 2 seasons when he did what every athlete hopes they can do, winning back-to-back championships before retiring. Elway's legacy currently continues as the general manager of the Denver Broncos. He was the GM when Peyton Manning was there. He's the main reason Peyton came there, and was a big part of the reason the Denver Broncos won Super Bowl 50. In 2004, John Elway was elected to the NFL Hall of Fame as a first-ballot Hall of Famer. With the 7th pick, the Kansas City Chiefs select Todd Blackledge. Was the only quarterback in the 1983 first round taken by a team that was not in the AFC East. Blackledge was a talent in college, a 3-year starter at Penn State underneath head coach Joe Paterno, went 31-5, including a national championship in his senior season. That senior season also won him the Davey O'Brien Award as the best college quarterback in the nation. In the NFL, Blackledge was less successful. Overall, he spent 5 years in Kansas City, mainly as a backup, career statistics being 29 touchdowns to 38 interceptions. Wholly unimpressive, especially for the 7th overall pick in the draft. This move scared the Chiefs so much they would not take another quarterback in the first round until Patrick Mahomes in 2017, opting to use the 49ers' old quarterbacks as their quarterbacks in the intervening time period. With the 14th pick, the Buffalo Bills select Jim Kelly did not want to play in cold weather. He listed 3 teams that he did not want to play for to his agent: the Vikings, the Packers, and the Buffalo Bills. He was overjoyed when the Bills didn't take him with the 12th pick until he was informed the Bills had another pick in the first round. Jim Kelly says he cried when the Buffalo Bills took him. Instead of playing for the Buffalo Bills, Kelly instead opted to play for the NFL's rival league at the time, the United States Football League, or USFL. When given the choice of the teams to pick from, Jim Kelly chose the Houston Gamblers, in part because they played in the Astrodome. When asked about this decision, Kelly infamously said, "Where would you rather be, Houston or Buffalo?" After the league folded prior to the 1986 season, Kelly finally joined the Bills, where he was an absolute legend. He made the playoffs in 8 of his 11 seasons in Buffalo, and famously went to 4 consecutive Super Bowls, of which, unfortunately, the Bills lost all 4. Kelly's post-football life has unfortunately been very difficult. He lost his son Hunter in 2005 when he was at the age of just 8. He has also had to battle cancer 3 times, although to this point he has beaten it all 3. Despite his early woes, Jim Kelly has become a legend in the Buffalo area, and know that I am rooting for him for A, the cancer to never come back, and B, if it ever does, for him to beat it once again. Good on you, Jim Kelly. Keep fighting the good fight. With the 15th pick, the New England Patriots select After a successful career at Illinois, where he still holds 8 passing records, Tony Eason was selected by the New England Patriots with the 15th pick. Eason's first few seasons in New England weren't all that bad. In 1984, he had the 3rd best passer rating in the NFL. In 86, the 4th best. 84 is more impressive since Eason was sacked 59 times that season, which was the NFL record at the time. He led the NFL in interception percentage that season, with 1.9% of his passes being picked off. In 1985, Eason got the Patriots to the Super Bowl in one of the wildest Super Bowl runs in NFL history. They were the first team in NFL history to win 3 road games to get to the Super Bowl. He beat Dan Marino in the AFC Championship game in Miami, the first time the Patriots beat the Dolphins in that Orange Bowl stadium since 1966. Unfortunately for Eason, that is where the good stories end, as in the Super Bowl against the infamous 85 Bears defense, he became the only quarterback in Super Bowl history not to complete a pass, going 0 for 6 and then being replaced. In 2008, ESPN ranked this as the worst performance by a starting quarterback in the history of the Super Bowl. Not exactly the best legacy to leave. With the 24th pick, the New York Jets select Ken O'Brien never had a chance. On draft night, he was booed by his own fans because they wanted the team to take this guy. And in a way, it's hard to blame them. Why would you expect a quarterback from Division II out of UC Davis to be taken ahead of one Dan Marino? Although in his career, O'Brien, though not nearly as good as Marino turned out to be, had a very interesting career in the NFL. He was the first quarterback in NFL history to have a perfect passer rating while throwing for 400 yards and at least 30 passes. It is the most yards thrown in a perfect passer rating game until Jared Goff this past season. In 1986, he and Dan Marino set a record for most combined passing yards between 2 quarterbacks that would stand for 25 years. In this game, O'Brien and the Jets did beat Marino and the Dolphins. O'Brien is also a 2-time Pro Bowler and was the AFC Player of the Year in 1985. So no, Ken O'Brien was not as good as Dan Marino, he wasn't as good as Jim Kelly, he wasn't as good as John Elway. But he was, at the very least, a serviceable to good quarterback, and takes a lot of undue hate because of the Jets' drafting mistake and nothing he did on the field himself. Oh, and just a final fun fact, his daughter Paige is married to Josh Peck of Drake and Josh fame. I thought that was kind of cool. With the 27th pick, the Miami Dolphins select the 83 draft arguably saved its best for last in quarterback Dan Marino. Marino is the most famous quarterback in this draft, I feel like, even a little bit more than John Elway, and in the NFL he did everything. 9 Pro Bowls, 3 first-team All-Pros, an MVP award, an Offensive Player of the Year award, a Man of the Year award, the Rookie of the Year award, Comeback Player of the Year award, the list goes on and on and on. In 1984, Dan put up what I feel comfortable saying, the single most impressive passing season in the history of football. I don't know if it can be topped. In 1984, Marino threw for 5,084 yards and 48 touchdowns. These records no longer stand. Peyton Manning broke the touchdown record in 2004, but considering the era that Dan played in, to throw for 5,000 yards and 48 touchdowns is insane. It cannot be touched. A quarterback today, I feel like, would have to throw for 6,060 to even come close to what Marino did in his era. It's unbelievable. Unfortunately for Dan, the knock against him has been, and always will be, it don't mean a thing without a ring. Dan Marino appeared in 1 Super Bowl early in his career, and he lost. After that, he never got back with the Dolphins, and retired without a ring. Should that be held against him? You can choose to. I understand if you do. Rings are very important. I never want to lower their value here, but considering just how good Dan was, football is a team sport. It always has been, it always will be. And when your quarterback puts up the numbers that Dan Marino did throughout his entire career, and you can't get him a championship, that's on the coach, the team builder, the whole thing. So Dan, I'm sorry that your career is marginalized somewhat today because your numbers have been surpassed in a much more pass-friendly era, or that you never won the championships that Elway did. But I think it would be a crime for anyone to state that Marino was not the best quarterback in this draft class, a draft class full of really, really good quarterbacks. When looking at what all these 6 men accomplished, it's very easy to understand why 1983 is considered the best quarterback draft class of all time. Looking at what all 6 of them accomplished by the end of their careers, we have 4 men that played in the Super Bowl, 4 men that made the Pro Bowl, 3 NFL Hall of Famers, and although Elway is the only one to win a championship, following the '83 draft, one of these men represented the AFC in the Super Bowl 11 of the following 16 seasons. Absolutely amazing. A draft class full of amazing quarterbacks that I don't think we will ever see again.